Just 1 second. Okay, yes, okay. All right. Okay. We're going to start with noun clauses. A clause contains a subject and a verb. An independent clause, that means the main clause, can be a complete sentence. She said something. We have she as the subject, said is the verb. This is an affirmative, independent clause. She said. Okay, there's also an object. What did she say? She said something. What did she say? This is an independent question clause. She is the subject and say is the verb. On the other hand, a dependent clause or a subordinate clause is not a complete sentence, even if it can contain a subject and a verb. It is subordinate to an independent clause. Yeah, just 1 second. Okay, what can we say about noun clauses? Let's look at the question. Where does she live? What did she say? When do they arrive? Okay, this is the question. These are normal questions. Where does she live? Remember, this is the quasi structure, the order, question word, auxiliary, subject, and infinitive. Live is the verb in the infinitive form because does tells you that this is the present tense. That's the auxiliary. The noun clause is I don't know where she lives. The question, what did she say? The noun clause B, I couldn't hear what he said. When do they arrive? The noun clause C, do you know when they arrive? Okay, let's look at A. Notice that where she lives is the object of the verb know. I don't know mathematics. No, this is an object. So it's an object with many words. In the noun clause, the subject precedes the verb. So we go back to the normal order, where she lives. Do not use the question word order in a noun clause. Let's look at this a little bit more schematically. Okay, do, does, did are used in questions but not in noun clauses. Let's look at this. Who lives there? Who is the subject? Verb is lives. The verb is conjugated. It's for the third person singular in the present tense. So we have the S. Who lives there? I don't know who lives there. Okay, here we have the noun clause, which is composed of the subject and the verb, who lives. But notice they are in the same order, because this is a subject question. Okay, we saw that in a lesson before. Let's look at what happens with what. What happened? The subject is what? Verb is conjugated, happened. We see the verb in the past tense. So please tell me what happened. Okay, this is exactly the same as the affirmative, the question form. The noun clause is the same as the question form. Who is at the door? Who is the subject? Is the verb at the door. I wonder who is at the door. Okay, this noun clause has who as the subject and followed by the verb is. Okay, so the word order is the same in both the question and the noun clause because who is the subject in both, right? Who lives there? I don't know who lives there. Okay, these are not really so common, these subject questions. Okay, there's only two words that you can use to form a subject question. who and what. Uh, okay, so let's look at the normal. Who is she? Okay, now we have the verb, which is the verb to be, and we have the inversion between the subject and the verb. Who is she? So we have the verb before the subject. I don't know who she is. Look what happens. The subject goes back to the first position and the verb follows the subject, just like a normal question, a normal affirmative. A normal, she is my neighbor. She is subject verb. So that's the order in the noun clause. Who are those men? This time we have the plural verb, to be, are, followed by the subject, those men. Who are those men? In the H noun clause, I don't know who those men are. Those men, the subject, now is followed by the verb are. I don't know who those men are. We have the normal subject verb order, like an affirmative. Whose house is that? Okay, the verb is the singular to be form, is, and the subject is that. I wonder whose house that is. Now we're back to the normal subject verb in I, the noun clause. I wonder whose house that is. In G, she is the subject of the question, so it is placed in front of the verb be in the noun clause. Right, so she is, those men are, that is. What did she say? What she said surprised me. Okay, now in J, what she said is the subject of the sentence. You see, we have the subject, which is composed of three words. We have the subject, she, and the verb said, but this is part of a dependent clause. This is not the principal subject and verb. The principal subject is what she said surprised me. Surprised is the verb. Let's look at this in another way. What should they do? This is a question. We have the auxiliary should, then we have the subject, then we have the verb. Well, this is actually the infinitive because this is the normal azi, kazi, what, question word, should, auxiliary, they, subject, and the infinitive do, because should takes the infinitive without to. Now in K, the noun clause, subject takes a singular verb. What they should do is obvious. What they should do is obvious. We have they as the subject of the noun clause and do as the verb. Okay, the verb is the infinitive because we have should. What they should do is all of the subject is here is the verb, the main verb. Okay, this is quite complex because you can see that we have do followed by is, which is very, very strange. Okay, who is at the door? Who is the subject of the question? Who are those men? Those men is the subject. So be is plural. Who are those men? Okay, you can do to exercise 1 and 2 if you have access to those exercises. That's in the Moodle. You can see that there. Let me just write me a message here. Okay, just to see if yes. Okay, if anyone is following, they can write messages there, ask questions. Let's look at common reporting verbs. Okay, these are quite similar because we're looking at also clauses. We're looking at Anne said that she was hungry. Okay, this is in A. A main verb that introduces reported speech is called a reporting verb. Say is the most common reporting verb and is usually followed immediately by a noun clause. You see, said that she was hungry. That she was hungry is the noun clause. So we have the reporting verb said, which is in the past tense, and then we have as an object, what did she say? We have the noun clause, okay? And the noun clause has a subject and a verb, she was hungry. As I said before, these are complex sentences. There are two subjects, two verbs. So this is really not so easy. B, Anne told me that she was hungry. Tell is also commonly used as a reporting verb. Now, notice that after me, after tell, I can use me. Anne told me that she was hungry. I cannot do that with say. I cannot say Anne said me that she was hungry. Anne told me. I can also use another person. Anne told Tom that she was hungry. Told is followed by me in B and C. Tell needs to be followed immediately by a pronoun, a noun object, and then by a noun clause. I cannot say Anne told that she was hungry. Okay, we expect a person after tell. We need a pronoun or some kind of noun. Anne told the world that she was hungry. I need to know who she is telling. Okay, Anne told that she was hungry. It's not possible. Anne said me that she was hungry. This is also incorrect. D, quoted. Sue said, she said exactly to me, are you tired? So I'm reported, Sue asked me if I was tired. Asked, not said, is used to report questions. So we have a couple of things here that are quite difficult, but remember that if you want to report a question, you should use asked. Sue, let's look at E. Sue wanted to know if I was tired. Sue wondered if I was tired. Sue inquired whether or not I was tired. Okay, questions are also reported by using want to know, wonder, and acquire. Okay, there are different ways you don't have to always use ask, but you can use these different forms. Okay, whether or not is just an alternative to use if. You cannot say if or not, you say whether or not. So we don't have a question word in this question, so we're using if or whether. Other common reporting verbs are announced, commented, complained, explained, remarked, stated that she was hungry. Okay, those are all possibilities. Let's look at some comparisons. Okay, we have the as structure. When you want to say that two parts of a comparison are equal, you can use as plus the adjective plus another time as. So, example, you're only as old as you feel. You're only as old as you feel. As introduces the adjective, and then we finish with the adjective, you are old. So I am comparing you are with you feel. Okay, you can also use as with an adverb and as. Things are as bad as they seem. Things are not as bad. Well, okay, we'll just keep it positive. Things are as bad as they seem. We have as plus bad, which is an adverb. Things are bad, or they seem bad. Things are as bad as they seem. The negative, here it is, not. Okay, Ted is 20, Tina is 21. Okay, I'm reading from C. Ted is not as old as Tina. So you can see Ted 20, Tina 21. Ted is not as old as Tina. So I am comparing Ted with Tina, and I'm using old as the adjective. So he is not as old as Tina. D, Ted isn't quite as old as Tina. Okay, you can also use quite to modify a little bit this old. Amy is 5. She isn't nearly as old as Tina. Okay, here's another possibility. You can use nearly to modify the old. Quite and nearly are often used with the negative. Not quite as, something as. That means that there is a small difference. Not nearly as, something as. That means there's a big difference. Okay, let's look at the verbs followed by gerunds. Okay, this is quite difficult. Admitted. They admitted falsifying the data or the data, how you want to pronounce that. Advise. The author advises undertaking further study. Undertaking means doing, doing that, taking the responsibility, taking under the responsibility. Appreciate. I appreciated having a chance to read your draft, your copy. Avoid. He avoided answering my question. Complete. I completed moving the equipment for the new office. Consider. They will consider granting you money. Grant is to give. Deny. They denied copying the information. Denied is to say no or to negate. Discuss. They discussed running the experiments again. Mention. The author mentions seeing this event. Postpone. The committee has postponed writing the report. Recommend. She recommends reading marks. Resist. The writer resists giving any easy answers. Risk. She risks losing her viewing time. Suggest. I suggest repeating the experiment. Tolerate. She can't tolerate waiting for results. Okay, so these are, let's say, father verbs or mother verbs that take a second verb only in the gerund form. Okay, so you have to learn these. You have to learn them by memory, by heart, we say. Okay, you can do exercise 3. Let's look at noun clauses beginning with whether or if. Will she come? I don't know whether she will come. I don't know if she will come. Okay, so this is a yes-no question. Will she come? So the noun clause is formed with whether and if. This introduces the clause. Whether is more acceptable in formal English, but if is quite commonly used, especially in speaking. Does he need help? B, I wonder whether he needs help. I wonder if he needs help. Okay, this is just reinforcing the noun clause structure so you can see that we have the subject and the verb. So we change the order of the question. Does he need help? If he needs help. Okay. All right. So no auxiliary. Will she come? I wonder whether or not she will come. D, I wonder whether she will come or not. E, I wonder if she will come or not. If she will come or not. So I can put not at the end or in the middle. Whether or not she comes is unimportant to me. Okay, here we have the noun clause in the subject position. Whether or not she comes is the subject of this question of this sentence. Is the main verb, and whether she comes is a noun clause, subject verb dependent clause. Let's look at some question words followed by infinitives. I don't know what I should do. B, I don't know what to do. Okay, this is an alternative. Instead of using the non-clause, what I should do, I can just use the infinitive. Question words when, where, how, who, whom, whose, what, which, and whether may be followed by the infinitive. So this is because the subject of the main clause, I, is the same as the noun clause, I. So I can eliminate the subject. We know I don't know what to do. The agent of this verb to do is I in the sentence. Okay. C, Pam can't decide whether she should go or stay home. D, Pam can't decide whether to go home or to stay home. Okay, so whether she should go or stay, whether to go. So I eliminate the should and the she, and I can just use the infinitive. Please tell me how I can get to the bus station. Please tell me how to get to the bus station. I'm eliminating the subject and the auxiliary can. Notice that these are the same. Jim told us where we could find it. Jim told us where to find it. Okay, you can do exercise 7 if you have access to that. All right, let's look at all and both. All of the students in my class are here. B, all of the students in my class are here. Okay, when a noun is specific, for example, the students, using of after all is optional, as in A and B. All of the students is the same as all the students, because students here is specific. All students must have an ID card. Incorrect. All of students must have an ID card. So when a noun is unspecific, of does not follow all, as in C. So all students must have an ID. Now I'm not talking about the students in my class, because A and B, we are talking about a specific group of students. Instead, all students, I'm talking about all of the students in the context. If this is the students in the university or students in the world, we don't know. You have to understand that from the context. But the context is every student that is possible must have an ID card. I'm not talking about the ones in my class. I know both of those men. I know both men. Incorrect. I know both of men. Similarly, using of after both is optional when the noun is specific. Those men, I'm talking about a very, very specific group of men. And so I can eliminate. I know both men. Instead, we cannot eliminate of. We cannot put of here if we are talking about men in general. I know both men. Okay, most is superlative. The superlative is used to compare 3 or more persons or things. The most is never immediately followed by of. The most. All of the boys, Tom ate the most food. Okay, um, so we don't put most of the. Most is never immediately followed by most of the food. Well, you could say Tom ate most of the food. The most food. It's a different way, but when most is not preceded by the. Okay. An expression of quality whose meaning ranges from over 50% to almost all. The example, most of the food. Okay, here we have most of the food. But you can't put the in front of most because you are using the here, most of the food. So the most is not possible. Okay, you can do exercises 8 and 9. Let's finish with the last singular expressions of quality, one, each, and every. Letter A, one student was late to class. B, each student has a schedule or a schedule. C, each student has a schedule or a schedule. One of the students was late to class. E, each one of the students has a schedule or schedule. F, every one of the students has a schedule. One, each, and every are followed immediately by singular count nouns. Never plural nouns, never noun count, because they are considered singular. One of, each of, and every one of are followed by specific plural count nouns. Never singular nouns, never noun count nouns. One of the students was, so that's singular. Each one of the students has, singular. Uh, every one of the students has. So in this case, we are talking about of and a group. So you're always going to use a plural here. One of the examples, one of the cars. There's always going to be a plural, but that does not mean you use a plural verb. Compare. Everyone, two words, is an expression of quantity. I have read every one of those books. That means every singular book. Everyone, one word, is an indefinite pronoun. It has the same meaning as everybody. Everyone, everybody has a schedule or a schedule. Each and every have essentially the same meaning. Each is used when the speaker is thinking of one person or one thing at a time. Each student has a schedule. Mary has a schedule. Hiroshi has a schedule. I'm thinking of each one of those people in the class, each one. Carlos has a schedule. Sabrina has a schedule. Every is used when the speaker means all. Every student has a schedule. All of the students have schedules. Okay, this is a little bit difficult, but with a little practice, you can catch the meaning of that and understand a little bit better that particular aspect.